الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our good deeds. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us do what we do purely to please Him and Him alone. اللهم ارزقنا الإخلاص في العمل يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم ما أصبحنا به من نعمة أو بأحد من خلقك فمنك وحدك لا شريك لك فلك الحمد ولك الشكر يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم بلغنا رمضان. آمين. اللهم آمين. So inshallah we continue. Hopefully we will be able to finish today. We have discussed in the last couple of times, couple of weekends, the book أحكام الجنائز وبدعوها للشيخ رحمه الله الشيخ الألباني. And we recommended this book. This you have probably, I'm not sure if we have a translation for it, but this is the book. And in the book there's so much mentioned there, and at the end of the book there is a talkhis, a summary of all the errors that many of us sometimes we go through this. Sometimes we do it so much, those errors, that we think if somebody comes and advises against it, that we get angry. We get like, what are you talking about? I've been doing this all my life. It's always good to pause and go back to what we do and make sure that we have an authentic reference to it in our deen. So inshallah we follow as the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and as he instructed us to do. Just for those who did not attend before, or just a summary, inshallah, the book talk about when somebody is in the dying moment, the events that happen and what we should be do and we should not do. Like if somebody gets sick, what is the patient should say and should feel. We talk about the most important thing, al-khawf wal-raja, the fear and the hope. What is it that we do, talqeen? What is it that we should say to the dying person? What should we ask him to do or say? That is talqeen al-shahada, qul la ilaha illallah. Then what happened when he dies or she dies, and then what happened after. So you'll see all these chapters, and then how do you announce that this person passed away, what is it that we should avoid, and so on, and the signs of good end, alamat husn al-khatima, and the taghsil and the takfir. We went through this in so much details before. We have mentioned the common error also about some people make a recommendation, if I die, take my body and bury it in my old country and so on. We have mentioned that that is against the sunnah, and even if it's in the wasiyah, it is recommended by scholars not fulfill that request because it is mukhalif li as-sunnah. We have mentioned the reward of washing the deceased, and we have mentioned the hadith, من غسل مسلما فكتم عليه غفر له الله 40 مرة ومن حفر له فأجنه أجري عليه كأجر مسكن أسكنه إياه ليوم القيامة. So this is the extreme reward. Sometimes we think about washing the deceased, it's just like some kind of job, but it is ibadah. It's an act of worship because you get reward for this. And wallahi, I say this to myself because many of us sometimes we run from those things. Just remember, it's like the same way you give sadaqah, the same way you do good deeds, this is also a good deed that has a great reward. So if you had that opportunity at one day or at some times, don't miss on that. And again, wallahi, I say that to myself. And we talked about Salatul Ghaib. Salatul Ghaib on the deceased. Like, can you make a prayer on the deceased if he's buried somewhere else? And we said yes, if nobody prayed on that deceased. But if somebody prayed on that deceased, you cannot do Salatul Ghaib. It is not. And we have mentioned the evidence also. And we have mentioned also when you have a janazah, how many lines we said? 7 lines, right? 3 lines. Good, you're awake. So I'm just tricking you. So yes, it's 3 lines, right? Even if you have a few people, so you can put like total of 7. And among the hadith that talk about this, صلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على جنازة ومعه 7 نفر فجعل 3 صفا و2 صفا و2 صفا. So this is only 7 people, so he made them 3 lines. 3, 2, 2, right? And there's also a hadith that talk about ما من رجل مسلم يموت فيقوم على جنازته 40 رجلا لا يشركون بالله شيئا إلا شفعهم الله فيه. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring at least for us 40, right? So remember now, whatever you see is going to come to us. So make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah send us people to do our janazah. Allahumma ameen. طيب. And we said, yes.
I just have a quick question. I know that you shouldn't carry the body from one country to the other one, but do you? Is it okay to go to like a family like cemetery or so? Because that's what they do in Egypt. You know, like when somebody dies, you know, they move him to his family. So all the family will be on the same location. Is this okay or this?
Yeah, I mean, if it's local.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna, take him in the airplane or travel to another country, that's what it's talking about.
Local, okay?
But something local, inshallah, it's fine, inshallah. Bismillah.
But not in Chicago.
That's another question. Okay. Do you wash it before you move it?
Let's just continue with this. Inshallah, we'll leave time for the questions.
No questions until the Sheikh finishes, because with questions we
Sometimes takes so much time. Yeah, so we'll, inshallah, we'll open like the questions and at least 2 sessions, inshallah. طيب. The dafn, the burial, and the salah. Now, obviously, we bury them in the grave, in the maqabir, and maqabir should be maqabir Islamiyya, right? And if you don't have one, you go to the closest one available, and if not, if the laws allow, you just bury them in a separate place. Now, I know we have in other maqabir here that non-Islamic, but there is one section that they have it. You can ask the scholar about the rules and regulations for this, inshallah, and it's all, the bottom line is you do your effort to bury. And alhamdulillah, in our communities here we have available this maqbara Islamiyya, so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us. Allahumma ameen. In terms of salah, many of us, we know that we pray on the deceased in the masajid, right? Now, you can still pray on the deceased in the maqbara, and that is actually the actual sunnah, right? But now, it's very hard to have big gathering and a lot of people to go to the maqbara, so it's becoming like a customary that you see it in the masajid, the janazah prayer. So if you go to any other place and you see they're praying on the deceased in the maqbara in their certain place, don't be surprised and don't make a scene and fight with them. What are you doing, right? That's the sunnah. That's the actual sunnah. I say this because that sometimes happens. Now, when we bury, a lot of times we talk about, there's a couple of things that we have. When we mentioned last time about the lahad, do you remember what the lahad means?
Yes.
Okay, all of us. Who doesn't know what the lahad means? Okay, all right. So there's two types of graves, right? There's the one that you have, they call it a shiq in Arabic, or in whoever knows math, mutawasil mustatilat, I don't know what's the translation in English, but you know how the grave look, right? And the other one, the grave that has a lahad in it, where it's the same, but the side, which usually the right side should be the qibla side, and that one, so you can imagine the grave is like this, so it will be like this, and then here you have a space, another area where they put the deceased in. So if they put the deceased in, facing the qibla, you turn him to the right, and he faced or she faced the qibla, then if you look from the top, you don't see the deceased, because where it's in the lahad. That is the Islamic qabr. That is the Islamic qabr, and that is the lahad, and that's recommended. And unfortunately, many Islamic countries, they don't have that. Only certain places. I'm not really sure. I think in Saudi they have it. They have the lahad. I don't know. But anyway, the bottom line is the lahad is the one is recommended. But again, you follow whatever, inshallah, it's all, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. Now, when you put the deceased in the lahad, what is it that you should say? What is it that people say? It becomes like a rally. So what they recommended, this is حديث ابن عمر أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا وضع الميت في القبر قال وفي لفظ أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا وضعتم موتاكم في القبور. Listen to this, and please listen to this, and please listen to this, because you will see what I'm talking about when you go to the burial. You will see all kind of things. But what is the sunnah that people should say? He said, the Prophet ﷺ, فَقُولُوا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ وَعَلَى سُنَّةِ أَوْ مِلَّةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. That's all you have to say. بِسْمِ اللَّهِ وَعَلَى مِلَّةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. That's all you have to say. You don't add, you don't do any more of this. The reason I say that people started making dhikr while they do it. They shouting loud Fatiha, they shouting loud Wahidu, they shouting loud Astaghfiru, and all these things. So all you have to do, and also the dirt, what is it that you have to throw? 3 times, right? 3 times, and it doesn't have to be a big load of dirt, right? So just يحثو من التراب 3 حثوات بيديه. بعد الفراغ من سد اللحم. So after the burial and all this, you after they cover, and then you throw those dirts 3 times, right? فحث عليه من قبل رأسه. So from the head side, That's the sunnah. Now if you do it from other side, inshallah it's okay. Do your best to do the sunnah, inshallah. May Allah accept. Allahumma ameen. We talked about the qubur, that you don't build on the qubur, it has to be a flat. طيب. We, in terms of ta'ziyah, condolences, there's a few things that we need to know, that you can make ta'ziyah to anyone, even non-Muslims. You can go and say condolences to their families, but you cannot go to the churches or the burial on those things, and you cannot make dua for only for the Muslims, the dua and istighfar. Now, there is among the things that people say in the ta'ziyah, as the Prophet ﷺ told us, إِنَّ لِلَّهِ مَا أَخَذْ وَلَهُ مَا أَعْطَى وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَهُ إِلَى أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. Right? And you ask them to be patient, and you ask them to make dua for them, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them for their loss and give them something better. We have mentioned the hadith before. What is it that you do? What dua Salama, that was taught to her by Abu Salama. Allahumma ajurni. Yalla, who's going to say that dua? Raise your hand. Let me see. something happened. It doesn't have to be just the deceased, but anyone. Yes, speak loud so everybody can hear you. وأخلف لي خيرا منها. So may Allah reward me for my loss and give me something better. Give me something better. So remember that dua. طيب. Now, among the errors that many of us we see sometimes, and even ourselves we do, that they gather on the ta'ziyah and then they started giving ajza of the Quran, right? That's to people recite. There is no reference to that. Among the things also, they, I'm going to tell you something funny. Well, it's not funny. I find myself funny. Have you heard of surar al-uzi? The food, uzi.
No.
Have you heard of uzi? Do you know what it is?
No.
It is rice with meat and like with green peas and all this. It really tastes great. It really tastes great.
Yeah,
And it becomes like a surah, so it's like you have like a bread on it or something, you know. Now this is surah uzi. It's like a meal, really nice meal, right? And this is so common, at least in Damascus, that when people die, they buy them that, halal. And so among the things that common mistakes, when somebody dies, they have a walima, they have
Food.
gathering of food, and the one who really fit the bill is the deceased family. Halal. That's nothing of the sunnah. That's nothing of the sunnah. And I say this because it is done throughout. And may Allah forgive me, it happened to many of us. So it's really not from the sunnah. We should avoid doing that. So just remember that. This is not of the sunnah. What is the sunnah? If somebody died, what is the sunnah? You bring food to the family of the deceased. That's the sunnah. You bring food to there because they're busy, burial and all this. So you bring food to the family of the sunnah, of the deceased. That's the sunnah. وإنما السنة أن يصنع أقرباء الميت وجيرانه لأهل الميت طعاما يشبعهم لحديث عبد الله بن جعفر رضي الله عنه. This is hadith. لما جاء نعي جعفر حين قتل قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اصنعوا لآل جعفر طعاما فقد أتاهم أمر يشغلهم أو أتاهم ما يشغلهم. So this is hadith in Tirmidhi and all this. So that's the reference when Ja'far bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu was killed, right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, make food to his family because they are busy with the deceased. Right. Now how much food you can make for them, right? So ta'am mishma is just like a meal, right? So that will be not, you bring the whole, okay. طيب. Now, if somebody dies and you want to do something good for them, what is it that you do? ما ينتفع به الميت. Right? A lot of times we see a lot of stuff. Number one is the dua, right? That's the most important thing, is to make dua for the deceased, right? And then, what if the deceased has a debt? What do?
You pay.
Ignore.
You run away, right? So you pay the debts. Now it's obviously if the deceased had a debt somewhere and the inheritance can, right? من بعد وصية يوصى بها أو دين. So the first of the inheritance should go for the dain, to pay the debts for the deceased. And then the inheritance comes after that, right? But let's say the deceased does not have, or there's no inheritance, there's no wealth there, then whoever is the relatives have the duty to do that. And if somebody wanted to give sadaqah, inshallah, that's fine. What if the deceased has siyam on him or her? What is it that you do? Huh? So do you fast? Let's say he had the deceased, Ramadan came in and he owes 5 days, like was sick, and he owes 5 days. What is it that we're going to do? Passed away. So okay, so you fast for him. You fast for him. Well, I'm just asking. Yes.
I'm sorry. You only pray for him that God will forgive him.
You make dua, so you don't fast for him. Okay.
No,
You hire
fast
somebody
for
Huh?
to ta'am.
You give masaki. Okay.
You can fast and you can give the kafara.
You can fast and give the kafara. MashaAllah. Like, what if the deceased has made a nether? You know, nether is like if something like this, I will fast 5 days, right? If I get this, I will fast 5 days, right? This is a nether. What do you call nether in English?
Oath.
Like oath, taking an oath on, yeah. So if you take an oath to do something and you could not really do it, you pass away and whatever it is. So the nether, siyam nether, say I'm going to fast a day or two. Do you fast for him on that? Okay. Now there is, difference of opinions in scholars, but the strongest one, here, let me read that for you. There is a group of scholars says, يُصَامُ عَنْهُ النَّذْرُ وَالْفَرْض. So if somebody owes Ramadan days or, as a mandatory siyam, and a nether, the oath, some scholars say you make fasting for both. Okay, you make up for them. Another scholar group, they said, none. You don't fast neither this or that. A third opinion says, if it is an oath, you fast, and if it is mandatory farad, you do not fast. Now, that last opinion, it seems to be the stronger. And that is قول Ibn Abbas وأصحابه رضي الله عنه. They said the fard al-siyam, they say the analysis, the siyam is like the salah. So how come if he missed salah, you don't make up for him and pray for their salah and you do the siyam? So they make a qiyas on this. But the bottom line is, the stronger opinion, I'm giving you the stronger opinion. This is what it says, that you do the nether, you don't do the other, the farad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'la wa a'la. And they say they say the nether هو التزام في الذمة بمنزلة الدين. They're comparing the nether, it's like a debt that you have to fulfill and so on. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. I just brought you this because this a lot of times comes to us, right? And there's other things that you can do. How about, can you make sadaqah on them?
Yes.
Can you do sadaqah?
Yes.
Of course you can. What is the evidence? The hadith, right? عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رجلا قال للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن أبي مات وترك مالا ولم يوصي فهل يكفر عنه أن أتصدق عنه؟ قال نعم. Right? So that the man came into the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. The short of this hadith is like, can I make sadaqah on him? He said yes. You can do sadaqah. So yes, the sadaqah you can do.
Can I make hajj for him?
You can do that as well. Yes, it's mentioned. طيب. All right. Inshallah, you're so good, you almost finished the book. Okay. Let me see what else. Now, in terms of ziyarat al-qubur, we have mentioned the ziyarah. You only can do ziyarat qubur on Thursday or on Friday, right? Or on the 40th,
Friday night.
or on the Eid. That's what happens sometimes. The culture and all this, and people kind of get used into this. Ziyarat al-qubur is something mutlaq. It's an open, there's no restriction. You can do ziyarah anytime. And actually we should do ziyarah because the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to do so, because tadhkira bil maut, to remember our end. And the more we remember death and remember that we're going to end up like this, the more that our deeds get rectified. And maybe we reset the priorities in our lives, right? Have any of us done that? You went to the qabr and then you came back and that changed so much in your priorities, right? Wallahi, we do it a lot of times. We do ziyarah, but it doesn't have that impact. It should, right? It should really have that impact on us.
We forget as soon as we come
You
out of
forget
the
it.
graveyard.
Even some people, some of us, sometimes you attend the funeral and you just, among the things that recommended when they're a funeral is a samt, to be silenced, not to talk. But how many times we attend funerals and we be next to the deceased, next to the casket, right? And we're talking about business and we're talking about this and people laughing and cracking jokes and Iyadu billah. Wallahi, may Allah forgive us all. I mean, we all sometimes forget ourselves where we are and forget ourselves what is it that we're going to face one of those days. So that's why the visiting, the funerals and all this, it should soften our heart. It should soften our heart. And softening our heart is remembering the akhirah is one of them that makes us, inshallah, more considerate to this. طيب. Now we're going to go to what we talked about, 240 errors. We have mentioned many of those before. I'm going to try and mark few of them so we can, inshallah, go through them fast. How much time do we have? We have plenty, right? I know you have a question. Go ahead. But make it short as much as you can.
I forgot what it is, but you
No,
know.
good. That's just good.
That's
the better.
That's what Sheikh Imad wants you to
There
forget.
is a strong hadith that most of the scholars agreed upon that, the person, when a person died, all his deeds, everything, it's ended.
Right.
Except three things only. And everybody, agree on that. عمل صالح, صدقة جارية, علم ينتفع به. Everybody, nobody said anything. So if somebody pass away, like you can pray for him, but to pray, I mean like تدعي له يعني. But you cannot pray his missing stuff. You cannot fast his missing days. You cannot do any of this stuff. I don't know about Hajj really, but this hadith is very strong and everybody agreed on. Thank you.
Inshallah, barakallah fi jazakallah khair. Naam, that's very important, yes.
Yes. You're correct.
ذكر الغاسل طيب. The among the things when we go to the graves, remember they have this, like they mention the name and the date of birth, and they have the whole resume listed on that shahada, right? So this is not of the sunnah. This is among the common errors, and I know. I mean, when my father's grave has all these things listed, so this should be avoided. Alhamdulillah, in our maqbara Islamiyya here, they don't do that. You've went there, it's just mentioned the name, and I think the date of death or something like this, but that's about it. So this way you can identify the grave.
Date of birth and death.
And the name, right, and date of death. Okay.
My son doesn't have that either.
Huh?
My son doesn't have that either.
Oh, really? But they will get it, they have it on a stone. Is
I
that
took it
in-
out. Yeah, I said no. When I went to Mecca, I saw how they did that. I said that's the way I want it.
But which one? Is it the AMA or something?
But Sheikh House, one of the cemeteries I went. That was
Yeah.
20
I'm talking about the ones that we know here, the AMA.
Yeah, that was a flag.
For identification, if you want to come visit the grave, so just they want to know this is the grave
What
belongs to
is
this.
it?
Actually,
Sheikh.
They made that
give you-
name and date of birth and
Okay. So if you go to the AMA, I know that. I mean, I have my brother and my mother was buried there. May Allah give mercy to all this. Amwatna, Ya Rabbal Alameen. So they have like a little
Stone.
hajar stone, right? And it has the name and the date of birth and the date of death, right? Like, it's for identification, and that's Allah. Beyond that, it's not. Yes.
There are others who put ayat of the Quran, people come in other places here, and people walk on them and all of that.
Yeah, that's not of the Sunnah. I know the most common ayah, Ya ayyatuha an-nafs al-mutma'inna, right? You see it all the time. But sometimes you see the Fatiha, right? You see it written there. Many of us can relate to this, right? At least, but that's not of the Sunnah. That's not of the sunnah. Allah Ta'ala ala alam. Now, sometimes when you go in the funeral, people are holding flags, right? And all this. And some people, they make dhikr while they're doing this. And sometimes they speak in the microphone, right? And some people make it like a riot, right? They just, and also carrying the casket, carrying the haml al-janaza, if, don't, like they say here, la tazahum. I know back home they used to fight to get to haml al-janaza so they can get reward, right? And all this, and you see that pushing this and so on. This is not of the sunnah. We talked about carrying flowers and all this, and how much people, they spend so much money on this. That's not of the sunnah. That's not of the sunnah. Save your money. Make a sadaqah, inshallah. That would be more rewarding. Tarkul insad, like we said, when you go in janazah, you have tunsit. That means you just be silent. Al-siyahu khalf al-janazah and all this, we mentioned that. We mentioned about the salah. We mentioned about the talqeen. Now, after somebody dies, sometimes they make gathering on the 40th, on the anniversary, and they make ta'been, ta'been, trying to mention the good things that the deceased did and so on and all that. What do you call it, memorials or something like that? That's not of the sunnah. That's not of the sunnah, and trying to avoid that as much as you can, inshallah. And advise people that this is not from the sunnah. Right. We mentioned about recitation of the Quran and all this. This is not of the sunnah. The ziyarat al-maqabir, we mentioned the Mondays, Thursdays. It's so common, Thursdays. I know where I came from. On the Eid. And you start your Eid with there. I mean, subhanAllah. You go to the maqbarah on the Eid, it's full. Completely full. And that's not of the sunnah again. Recitation of the Quran is rewarding, right? But when you restrict the recitation to in the maqbarah or on certain things, that's no longer a sunnah. That's mukhalif lis-sunnah. I mean, somebody came to me the other day and said, oh, what recitation of the Quran, you can do it anywhere. Yes, you can. But when you say the Quran is restricted to do it in the maqbarah, there's no authentic reference to tell us that. So that becomes mukhalif lis-sunnah. Allah Ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Have you seen what is the qabr al-jundi al-majhool, right? You've seen it. Sometimes you have unknown soldier grave, when people go and there's nothing there, and they do this ziyarah. It's like a symbolic thing. Now, if this is a cultural and symbolic and it's nothing to do with ibadah, I have nothing against it. Remember that. But if somebody doing it as taqarrub ila Allah or something of that nature, this is not sunnah. This is absolutely not the sunnah. And it's better, especially if you do it officially like this, so people will not have the misconception that this is acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's nothing to do with the sunnah.
Is it done in the Islamic world?
Huh?
Is it done in the Muslim world?
Oh gosh, all the in Syria, all the time. Yeah, qabr al-jundi al-majhool. And the president goes and they carry and they have like. I remember once they took us from the schools to line up for that. SubhanAllah. What are we lining up for? Something unknown. There's nothing in the grave, and it just, Allah. Allahumma aslihna ya Rabbal Alameen. And have you seen people sometimes, when people decease and they get a sheikh and they pay him money to recite the Quran? That's also not from the sunnah. May Allah forgive us. May Allah forgive us all. Allahumma ameen. Now, ziyarat al-qubur, yes.
People do that in Dar Hijrah. They bring somebody who takes $250 per hour to read the Quran. And sometimes he reads the Quran and people are chatting. And we do it in Dar Hijrah.
Reciting the Quran, bringing people, paying them money, and all this, well, let's forget the payment. Recitation and
Finish the
listening to
whole
it, it's
Quran or
fine, but
just
when
part
it comes
of
to the deceased, it's not of the sunnah.
In Iran, they have to finish in 3 days the whole Quran. They have to finish the whole Quran.
Well, sometimes they do it like in the same jalsa. They gather and they give jizya to everyone,
Yeah.
and then they ask him to read that jizya, and then say, "Oh, we finished the khatman." That's not of the sunnah. Recitation of the Quran on the deceased is nothing to do with the sunnah. It's not of the sunnah.
Shouldn't the administration here prohibit that?
I don't. I'll ask them. I really don't know if that happens here.
Because
Does it happen?
yeah, it does.
Administration might be charging fee for that.
Yeah. And may Allah forgive us. Sometimes we all go through this, but we tell ourselves first and foremost that we should never do that. And may Allah forgive us if we did. And yes, we need to advise them. If that's the case, we really need to advise them. And I'll ask and I'll let you know, inshallah. Yes. 1, 2. 1, 2. Yes.
So reading Quran like for the deceased, just to get the ajr for him, is it allowed or not?
You know, there's a hadith da'if, but not for the deceased, for the marid. But no, for the deceased, no. There's nothing authentic, and this book discourages this about it. Allah.
Sometimes like they do it like as a custom, reading it like Surah Yasin and Tabarak, after like.
You see, the moment you start doing this, everybody's going to do that, and that's mukhalif lis-sunnah. There's no hadith that tells us if somebody died, you recite this on them. There's no hadith. So if you start doing that, that's nothing of the sunnah. There's nothing encouraged of the sunnah. Allah Ta'ala alam. Yes.
No, but the deceased son, wife, mother, sister, they can recite at home. And
Okay. Listen, it doesn't have to be whoever it is. It should not be. There's nothing. Let me just rephrase. There's nothing in the Sunnah that says you should recite Quran on the deceased. There's no reference to that. So if there is no reference to that, my advice to all myself and all of us, do not approach that at all. The moment somebody sees a family member doing this, all family members, they end up doing this, and then the whole community end up doing that. So you don't want to start something that is not authentic and there is no reference to it. You can sit down and make dua to the deceased. That's what the Prophet ﷺ told us. Make dua, and the dua reach. You remember the hadith where a believer in the Jannah found themselves that their rank in the Jannah going higher and higher and higher, right? And the believer asked, how come my rank in the Jannah going higher and higher and higher? And it would be said to him, your children make an istighfar for you. Bistighfari waladika lak. Right? It didn't say by your children recited the Quran for you. Right? So we take the hadith as it is and as the Prophet ﷺ told us. I think you have one there. There's somebody else raised it. 1, 2. Anybody else? So I can count. 3. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
So what if you go to visit the grave of your family member?
Can you raise, please?
So what if you go to visit the grave of your family member, and maybe like there's 4 of you and somebody makes like dua? Is that allowed?
Can we make dua? Like a congregation dua? Yeah, inshallah, it's fine. Make sure you go, the sunnah is to direct toward the qibla. Toward the qibla, not toward the deceased. Okay? We said 2, you 2 and 3, I can't remember, okay?
Can you go and make Hajj for the family member or send somebody
You know,
to make Hajj?
I've read it somewhere, it's not in this book, I read it somewhere that you can. Allahu A'lam. Yes. But I'll look this up for you. And if somebody he can look at the QA, Islam QA on the Google. Just Google
Give us
Islam.
the answer next week, inshallah.
Also, Sheikh Hanuti Rahimahullah, we asked, and he told us no.
You just
I'm repeating.
no, just look it up. Just look it up.
Yeah.
Islam QA. Can you do Hajj for your deceased? Yes.
بالنسبة للمرأة اللي تحب زوجها ما هي تعمل في فترة 4 أشهر مباح وغير مباح؟
هذا حديث طويل يا أخي بارك الله فيك. what are you going to do for if the woman the أربعة أشهر وعشرة, right? So what is it that you do? According to the scholars and all this, that she only stay at home unless it's necessary to go out for necessities, and that's fine. There's more details into this. I'm not prepared to say that. I have to review it before I say it. But in general statement, that أربعة أشهر وعشرة لا تخالط, and unless it's necessary. والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم. Yes.
I just want to say something quickly. You know, like شر الأمور محدثتها، كل محدثة ضلالة.
بدعة
كل
وكل بدعة
ضلالة
ضلالة.
في النار.
Right.
فاحنا بنوصل ليه الحديث ده بالذات؟ Because we come to the point that we start to believe that this is, we do this every day, we do this all the time, then it becomes like
It becomes a
part of
habit,
the
right?
ritual.
It becomes something like the norms,
Yeah.
and that's what they're to avoid this.
That-
Jazakallah khair. And then people sometimes think it's part of the deen, and you'll see so much expansion on this. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, we remember we talked like about 4 or 5
You should
lectures about the bid'ahs and all this, the danger of the bid'ah. So we have to revive the sunnah.
Right.
To inshallah continue with that. Let me continue with the book so we can finish inshallah. There's some people go to the grave, kiss the grave, bless themselves with the dirt and the grave and all this. This is all not of the sunnah. And how about visiting the grave of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Ziyaratu qabr al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So can you travel to visit the grave?
Yes.
Who said yes? So you live in America and you want to travel to Medina to visit the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you do that? Yes? Yes?
You travel for the teaching of the master.
Yeah, wait. Is that a yes? Raise your hand who says yes.
Oh, you travel to
Right,
pray.
yeah, you see, you're not supposed to talk. So the ziyarah to the masjid, yes. If your intention only to visit the grave, the answer is no. Be careful, okay? That's تشد الرحال إلى ثلاث, right? المسجد الحرام والمسجد النبوي والمسجد الأقصى. Right? But if your intention to go and visit the grave, no. Have you seen when people visit the Qabr of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will put their hand to get the blessing, and sometimes they ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to help them in doing this and doing that. That is, be careful, that's a form of shirk. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Yes, you ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam shafa'a and all this, but that's on the day of judgment, right? And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yarzuqna shafa'ata. Allahumma ameen. But there is some people, they go and ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to remove the stress and remove this and all this. You make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, when you make dua, you direct toward the qibla, not toward the qabr. Have you seen a lot of times when you visit, you'll see people directed toward the grave and making the dua, right? It should be where? Toward the qibla. Yes, Shaykh.
On the بدل حج here it says والجمهور على النيابة في الحج جائزة على الميت والعاجز الميؤوس عن برئه لكن ليس للقادر.
ليس
للقادر يعني if
للقادر
somebody is
للقادر.
able to do the Hajj and you send somebody for him, no. But if it's for the deceased or somebody who has مرض.
Good night. So yes, so you can do for the deceased, you can do Hajj. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from everybody. Allahumma ameen. طيب. بارك الله فيك. جزاك الله خير.
Almost done.
نعم.
Almost done.
طيب, we're gonna, inshallah, I think I encourage you to review this book. There's so much stuff with this book that we can benefit for ourselves, for our families, and trying to avoid the errors that many of us sometimes see and do. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from everyone. Allahumma ameen. So now you have the whole time for the questions and
3
answers.
minutes.
We have 3 minutes. So you have the whole time, the whole 3
All the
minutes.
time is open.
But let me see, raise your hand if you have a question. Let me see how many people are going to ask.
No question.
Raise your hand. And 1, 2, and what else? 3. Okay, so we have 3 questions, inshallah, 1 minute each. Go ahead.
Okay. It's not a question. I'm gonna.
If it's a comment, less than 1 minute. Can you time it first? Okay, go for it.
When Muhammad was on the dead bed, on the deathbed, Al-Abbas came to Ali ibn Abi Talib and told him, I know the death when I see it in Bani Hashim. Please go and ask him, يعني يصيبنا خيرا، يعني خلينا ناخد حاجة من الخلافة أو البتاع. علي أبو طالب كان very very intelligent. So I told him, انت مش شايف ان انا لو قلت له كده ورفض عمرنا ما هناخد الخلافه؟
Let's just skip this. It's nothing to do with the topic. Inshallah, barakallah feek. Yes.
So my question is like, you can do like Hajj and Umrah for parents. That is it possible to do like for a deceased friend or something?
That's what he just said. For the deceased, yes, you can do it.
Friend, not parent.
Praying, not praying. No, not the salah.
Friend.
Deceased friend.
A friend, you can do it to anybody. You can do it to anybody if they're not able to. Yes. I'm sorry, who's the third one? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, young man.
Someone dies, you can make food for them, right?
So if somebody died, you make food for the family. Correct.
And let's say a group of people, like after the funeral, they pick some random day and they gather at a place. People,
And they go and buy food and everything.
no, they make food for the person, the family member, and they gather in that place and they just eat the food.
Oh, so you can, instead of making food, you can just invite them to eat in some place? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like, let's say they make couscous, like eat like a family makes.
If you make couscous, we come and eat. Don't worry.
Yeah, so they
Moroccan.
they go to, let's say, a room like or here in this area.
Uh-huh.
Everyone
They go.
takes the food, and there's a family member of the deceased, and they just they make after the deceased, and then they eat the food, and that's it.
That's you've done this in inshallah. That's it. May Allah accept it inshallah. طيب خلاص? You have a question?
I was going to ask about reciting the Quran inside of the graveyard. Is it allowed or is it not allowed?
Reciting?
The Quran at the graveyard itself.
I mean, it's not of the sunnah. It's not of the sunnah. Yes. Anybody خلاص طيب. لا يا أخي. No. According to
Women
the
cannot follow the
ممنوع من السؤال. ممنوع من السؤال.
عاملين ان انت ممنوع من السؤال. Not you.
I was scratching. I didn't use my hand.
No. خلاص inshallah. So inshallah next time, inshallah we're going to now focus on Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ballagna Ramadan. So inshallah next, I'm not sure if it's going to be here or not, but I'll let you guys know. But inshallah the next topic is going to be on Ramadan, preparing for Ramadan, things not to miss in Ramadan inshallah. And we're going to focus, we're still going to continue this in Ramadan, the halaqah. Inshallah, that's fine. So our focus is going to be the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We, like they say, we drop everything and we focus on the Quran. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. So our focus, inshallah, in the next 4 or 5 times is going to be the Quran and attachment, tadabbur, tafsir, and so on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from everybody. سبحانك اللهم ربنا بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم يا رب العالمين أحسن خاتمتنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. نعم.